I just appreciate everybody watching.
Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Dive.
What's going on, y'all? This is Coach Mual, Hen Dog Mual. You know what time it is, man. All that good stuff. Your host of the Trap or Die podcast. And on this episode, we have the good man, Bram Weinstein, the real Bram Weinstein, the play-by-play voice of the Washington Commanders, checking in on this episode. And Bram was able to kick it with us for a good 15 and 20 minutes and talk all things Washington Commanders. Obviously, you know, it's not going to be easy to get across or have touch on every conversation or every topic related to the Commanders, but you know, we did the best we could within a 20-minute time span, man. And Bram was great. The conversation was great. Appreciate him stopping by to talk a little bit Washington Commanders. Obviously, touching on Rivera and the urgency he has this upcoming season. The Wentz deal itself. Wentz from a mental standpoint, how important it is for him to kind of bounce back. Obviously, we touched on Terry McLaurin, things like that, and OTAs and everything. So I think that's some of the things to look forward to in this conversation, but also some concerns. What really concerns him from a roster standpoint, and some of the holes that's left on this roster as they get ready for a playoff push. So I genuinely enjoyed the conversation with Bram, and I'm looking forward to everything that Washington has going on this offseason, and as they continue to push into the training camp and preseason portions of the 2022 campaign. So without further ado, I won't hold much of your time. Let's go ahead and get into the Bram Weinstein interview with the Trap or Die podcast, the play-by-play voice for the Washington Commanders. Bram, let's go ahead and kick things off with expectations. Given the context today specifically regarding Rivera's offseason approach, like, prior to Wentz, he essentially pitched to the top tier veterans in the off seasons. I think it was at the Combine. Essentially Washington was a quarterback away. This was a perfect landing destination for you all. You essentially just have to buy in. And secondly, after that, not just the pitch to the quarterbacks, he had some self-imposed expectations on himself and the team at times this offseason. Fast forwarding to today, Bram, May 23rd, 2022, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a job do you think Ron Rivera has done and the company, just him and his staff, to shore up the roster and get ready for a playoff push?
So I think they're a lot better than what they were specifically because they have a quarterback now. We can talk about whether you believe Carson Wentz is the answer or not, but he's clearly an upgrade from where they were. I mean, there's no argument with that. I see holes like everybody else. I know they need to get another linebacker in here, whether he's going to start or be a backup. I think they need another safety or linebacker, however you describe this Buffalo nickel thing, and to just assume that a rookie mid-round pick is going to come in and take the job, I think is being a little more optimistic than I would think that the coaching staff would like to be. So maybe Percy Butler wins the job, and maybe he does it initially, so I think a veteran safety needs to come in here. I am concerned about the interior offensive line. I was not concerned about the starters there a year ago, and maybe I won't be with the addition of Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell, but I feel differently about that now than I did a year ago, even if they are deep again at the position. So largely, though, I mean, I would just say this, like, they played with their backup quarterback a year ago. They played a first-place schedule. They played a run of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, played a run of playoff teams. They still won the same amount of games they did the year before. So go look at what their schedule looks like right now and the way it lays out. And it feels like, and I'll put the bar at playoffs for them. I don't know whether they win the division or not, but I do think an over 500 record and a playoff berth one way or the other, if Philly and Dallas don't have great seasons and they win the division, or they get in as a second place team in the NFC East and make it as a wild card. I think that to me is where the bar is for them. And that seems to be kind of in line with what Rivera's kind of been saying all along, that it's time to win a little bit here.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Like I've told people 1,000 times, when people ask me, what do I think they're going to do? I immediately respond, Bram, and tell them, you know what? It doesn't matter what I think they're going to do. I have followed Ron this entire offseason and understanding where he wants to go with this team and understanding all of the pressure, or I wouldn't want to over exaggerate that part, but the pressure that he's putting on himself, understanding that, they need to win. They're in that critical third year of his tenure. They have to win. And I'm looking at playoffs as well, but it's all based on Ron's expectations. But I do want to touch on one thing, because it's actually not talked about enough, but I agree with you. And I've said it on my side, but I want to hear more from you. You had mentioned the offensive line, the interior offensive line. There was something that Ron Rivera has said. Matter of fact, in his pitch to the quarterbacks, he had listed all these stats: the 1,000-yard rusher, the top 10 offensive line, all these things. And now I don't want to harp on like concerns for majority of our conversation, but it's just important to note that you had said something that's actually critical too. And part of his pitch is saying that we have a strong offensive line. I don't know to what degree those changes, because Eric Flowers moving and Brandon Sheriff moving is significant to the stats that they produced in 2021. Why are you saying, in your theory, why you think that your concerns lie? Is it just simply because of the two additions or subtraction/additions? Is that basically it, or just that you don't know how sustainable that ranking is?
So last year, I felt very good about the starting unit, with the exception of not knowing enough about Charles Leno as a cast-off from Chicago, and not knowing anything about Sam Cosmi as a second-round pick, right? So the tackles to me were the big question, but the interior offensive line, I love Chase Roulier till he got hurt, obviously. Brandon Sheriff is an all-pro player, and Eric Flowers in his second stint, I believed under the tutelage of this offensive line coach, would be what he was in his first go-around. And that kind of played out. So, and then they had a lot of depth. I mean, they have guys like Wes Schweitzer, who could start for other people as a backup for them, and Cornelius Lucas, who could start for other people as a backup for them. So I loved the depth, but what I really loved about the whole thing was the unit in totality. This time around, I feel like the depth is there again. They do have swing tackles. They do have backups at guard. But what I don't know is how effective is the starting unit going to be this time around. And with Cosmi only having played, 5-6 games, something like that last year, I still don't think we know enough about how consistent is he going to be as their right tackle. So I think that unit is an underrated question mark coming into the season. All these things that they want to do with throwing the ball downfield and having multifaceted packages with all these different weapons that they have will come down to whether they can protect. And if they can't protect, all of that stuff goes out the window. So do I trust them? Yes. This offensive line coach has done an amazing job first couple of years here. So I trust that they're going to get it right. But I don't think you could look at them on paper and go, they're as strong as they were a year ago. You're going to have to show me that, specifically in the interior offensive line.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into a fun conversation here. Time and time again, I'm a part of this. The media is part of this. Everybody who follows teams closely, whichever market you're in, they have those player or two whose storyline that they follow closely in the offseason. Whether it's a rookie who has potential to be a solid contributor, or even a veteran who has their misfortunes and have to bounce back, or has an opportunity to build on what was a solid prior season. If I were to ask you, whose storylines are you paying attention to this offseason, Bram? Who are they? You can go whichever way you want to go with that one.
Line's a big deal to me. I think Jamin Davis is a big storyline this year. He's clearly not their middle linebacker. That's what they wanted him to be. They don't play a lot of 3 linebacker sets. They're not calling him the Buffalo nickel replacement. So is he going to get on the field? I think that's a huge storyline, because to me, behind a healthy Chase Young, he's their second best athlete on the defensive side of the ball. And the answer is for him to play. The question is how much, where, and how effective can he be? Because when you see him with the size and the speed, he can be a definitive game-changing playmaker for them if they can let him become an instinctual player again. So he's a big story for me. And then I think Wentz. I mean, I think obviously Wentz, more than anything, I know he's got the physical tools to do it. We saw it with him a few years ago in Philadelphia. We know how good he can be. He can do things that no other quarterback on this current roster can do. So it's an upgrade for sure. I mean, it's the biggest upgrade they've had in, I don't know. I mean, I guess there was hope in Haskins that he would be able to do some of the things that Wentz did, but short of that not happening, I can't remember the last quarterback they had that was kind of athletically gifted and as big as him and can throw the ball downfield the way he can. So there's a lot of hope there. The bigger question I would have is mentally, where is he? I mean, this is a weird 24 months for him. He gets traded twice. He gets traded out of the city that drafted him number 2 overall. He was tracking as an MVP before he got hurt, and then, watched the Super Bowl go to the other guy, and then they canonize him. I can only imagine. Then when he went to Indianapolis, went back to Frank Reich, I'm sure he thought he was going to be there for at least a few years. The fact that it got flipped on him like this quickly, I'm sure he's shell-shocked. So I'd like to see mentally where he is. I like publicly how Rivera and the team is positioning this. They're not calling this a one-year thing. They're not calling it a bridge. Like, they're saying, we're behind you. We think you are that guy. We didn't acquire you to just test run it. We all know what his contractual situation is. So if it doesn't go well, they do have an out, but I don't think they're looking at it that way. And I don't think they should look at it that way. So does he look at it that way? And when he does have a bad game or two and he does get criticized, how's it affect him? So I really think mentally, more than anything, I think is a big storyline. If he buys in, starts playing like the guy that was drafted number 2 overall a couple years into his career, I think we're going to have an answer at quarterback for a period of time here. And considering what the rest of the team looks like, and we can bring up all the holes that they have, I like the weapons that they have. I like their defensive line. I like some of the people behind them. I like the way they think about playing defense. Like, there's no reason for me. I'll still go back to what we said at the beginning. I still think they're a playoff team this year. I don't know that they're a Super Bowl team, but I think they're a playoff team this year. And if that were to happen, watch out in year 2 under Wentz and year 4 under Rivera.
Now, there was something that you touched on. You covered it really well, but I wanted to dive down into perspective and just understanding how close you've been to the NFL and your actual professional experience, Bram. Carson Wentz, who, like you said, was essentially in a place where he is wanted, according to Ron. The opinion of Carson himself and understanding how important it is to have that mental security, knowing that the staff is catering towards you and your strengths. How important is that from your perspective? A staff that's catering towards you versus a staff who may be trying to force you upon their team, and that may ultimately not even be a fit itself.
So what did they want to do last summer, this time last year, when they had acquired Fitzpatrick? They had talked openly about, one, a guy who's not going to be afraid to throw the ball down the field because they want to open up a deep passing game because they drafted De'Ami Brown. They have Terry McLaurin. They wanted to take advantage of speed. And the hope was Curtis Samuel was going to be healthy. Yeah. And so they went in thinking they were going to try to be an explosive offense. Fitzpatrick gets hurt. Samuel barely, if ever, plays. Brown clearly needs a year of seasoning to kind of adjust to the NFL life. The downfield passing game completely disappeared. I feel like we're in the same place we were a year ago, assuming Curtis is healthy. They drafted Jahan Dotson. The idea is to get Gibson at least some rest as a primary running back by drafting Brian Robinson and potentially, as they were talking about last year, moving him to a receiver at times because he was a star in college that way and could be a matchup, he could be a matchup issue for another team as well. We're talking about the same things again, all based on a quarterback who's very capable of doing all those things and is going to be willing to do all those things. And that's why I kind of caution, like, initially with this. Wentz is new. The line is a question mark until proven otherwise. There are a lot of other people back. We are expecting Brown to be better this year. We are expecting Samuel to be healthy. We're asking a rookie to be a big play threat for them immediately. All of those things happening at once feels unlikely to me. So this is a work in progress, but it's a different work in progress. It feels like one that has some hope for a couple of years and hopefully one that is going to find its way along the way. So I'm cautioning let's not, like last year, I think we all thought this was just going to turn on a dime. And I think that there's a lot of things that need to come together here. More importantly than all of it, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, is the defensive line needs to play better in general. And if the defense is better as a whole, it will give the offense maybe a chance to gel a little bit. That said, go look at the early season schedule. And don't tell me the opportunities aren't there for them to get off to a really, really, really good start if they kind of get things together this summer.
one of the people that you spoke on, or excuse me, one of the units specifically that you were encouraged by were the weapons. And I actually think that this receiver unit is promising. They did a good job trying to bolster and surround Terry McLaurin himself with some talent from the receiver side. Now, as we talk about Terry himself, Debo, the news came out today that he was planning to sit out OTAs. It was just recently reported. As it relates to Terry, though, just in general, in your perspective, your opinion, what are you expecting to happen between him and Washington over this summer? What is your opinion on that one?
So OTAs, the practice is open tomorrow. I'll be interested to see if he's there, obviously. I have not heard word one from his side or the team side that things are going the wrong direction. All my understanding is go look at what they've done here. They've not spent a lot in free agency. They went and upgraded at quarterback. They're spending a lot more at the position there. They freed up some cap space. They have not used it for anybody else. The reason why is because Terry McLaurin makes no money, and there's no way around the fact that they're not going to pay him more this year. So they're accounting for him. Go look at the billboards during a rebrand. There's 4 players on it: John Allen, Chase Young, now Carson Wentz, and Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is, in my opinion, with him and Chase Young, are the face of the franchise. He knows that. Like, they don't want him going anywhere. There isn't a Debo's different. Debo got used in a way that I think we all kind of recognize that he didn't appreciate, and felt like he might as well make 2 salaries if he's going to be the running back and the receiver. That's not what's happening here with Terry McLaurin. I think he's kind of too important for us. I think he recognizes what a big deal he is. And I think they're going to pay for him. And is it going to be Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown money? I think if the Commanders can avoid that, it won't be. But is it going to be some team-friendly, low-tier, under $20 million a year deal? No way. Not if I'm his agent. So something's going to happen in the middle there, and I expect it to happen before training camp starts. And until I hear otherwise, which from either side that there's a problem, and I have not heard that yet from anybody, I think they'll get it done. I think just the surprise, really, of all of it is this market exploded in a way I don't think anyone anticipated. And all of a sudden, receivers are making a tremendous amount more than they were. So Washington just has to bite the bullet because I think he's too important for them, and I think they know that.
Bram, one of the top reasons I got you on here, or wanted to get you on, is because I respect your position, obviously within the organization itself, but also your ability to keep your opinions and stand tall on your opinions, whether it's positive or negative. So I just wanted to say I do appreciate you joining the Trapper Dive for a quick conversation on the Washington Commanders. I want to give you the floor now and plug talk to let the people know where they can find, hear, and if you have any writing, read your work. So the floor is yours. I appreciate you joining me.
Writing's too hard. I stay away from that. You can hear me on the radio, ESPN 630, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. Obviously, I call the games for the Commanders. I'll be heading into my 3rd year, but first as the Commanders. So this is really cool. It's a new rebrand. I had 2 with the Washington football team, now with the Commanders. So this is cool. Mm-hmm. So it'll be me, Julie Donaldson, London Fletcher this year. If you haven't heard, I'm sure everybody who listens to your show knows, but D'Angelo decided to go a different way. And so we brought in London Fletcher. So he's going to join the booth. So we're excited about that. And I own Empire Media, which is a podcast network. And we've got a number of different shows, including the John Keim Report for all the Commanders fans out there. He does a great job as an insider covering the team. I'm often a guest on his podcast. And then I got 8 million other jobs that I would bore everybody with, but those are the ones that I would want them to know about.
Absolutely. Bram, I appreciate you joining me on this Monday afternoon. You take care, stay safe, and best of luck in your first season as the Commanders play-by-play guy. So
third season. We just called them first as the Commanders.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As the Commanders. Yeah, that's.
Well, let me ask you this before I go. Mm-hmm. Did you like this name choice?
I'm not gonna lie to you, Bram. I tell people all the time, I was indifferent to the name change itself. Like I already knew kind of the direction it was going, so I'll be short with that. But when it came to Commanders, I had like a list. I had a list that I didn't want. That was it. It was a list that I didn't want. And if I had the 8 up there that was often mentioned, I could tell you off the top of my head. But Commanders wasn't one of the ones that was up there that I said, I didn't want that name. So it was just only a list that I didn't want. Outside
Red Wolves? Were you a Red Wolves forever person?
No, I was not Red Wolves.
Good. I was then we can be friends. I had the Commandalorian sent me this. With that
Oh
one.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Look, hey, God bless everybody who was, a part of that Red Wolves pack, Bram. I hope they didn't. I hope they didn't come at you too much.
No. I mean, like I've said this a million times. Like, you guys want to show up and howl and dress up as Red Wolves, you're welcome. Like, if the Commandalorian people want to show up, fine. You wanted hogs and you want to dress up as the Hogettes, go for it. Like, as long as we have people who are engaged, in it, I'm all for that. I mean, through the years, we had plenty of nicknames and strange quirks about this organization, which adds to the history. The Hogs, Fun Bunch, Smurfs, Over the Hill Gang. There's a 5 o'clock club. There's tons of them that have come through. And I know that wasn't the name of the team, but like, if there are these kind of sects of fans, but they're all wearing burgundy and gold, we're all in it together. We can kick some of these people wearing green and blue out of our stadium this fall.
Yes.
I'm open to that. So like, I don't care what you call them. Like, show up, root for the burgundy and gold, root for the home team, and let's help this momentum build, because I'm not just saying it. I really think this is a playoff team this year, and I think you're going to feel it a little bit.
And I mean, if there's one thing for sure, Bram, and we'll get out of here. If we get a home game, Washington gets that home game, that's typically like the best in recent years. That's been the best opportunity to see how truly supportive it is if this is a winning franchise. Like, fans do come out for the bigger games. Fans do come out for those playoff games. I think about that 2015 and 2012 season. Like, they come out. If you get consistent and continue winning, the murmurs and the rumors of discontent, it all suddenly fades away. But you can't do that if you don't win.
I mean, I keep thinking about this. Like, the first games I got to call was that Eagles comeback. First game is the Washington football team. They're down 17-0, came back and won, right? And what that stadium would, nobody was there because it was COVID. So what would the stadium been like? Would they have been booing them at halftime and they're down 17, whatever? Or would they have gone crazy when they completed the comeback? Who knows? And then at the end of the year, they play Tom Brady in the playoffs. Taylor Heineke has probably one of the most exciting plays the team's had in 10 years, right?
Yes.
There's nobody in the stadium. Like, what would the sound have been in the stadium when he dove and hit that pylon and made it a 2-point game late third quarter? Like, I think the roof would have been blown off. Yes. And then, not that I don't trust Tom Brady would have won anyway, but who knows? Like, all of a sudden, you've got a stadium full of fans engaged, turned against the opponent. I would have liked to have seen what that was like. So I'm with you. Like, they need to win. They need to do their part. They need to win. I think they know that. They're saying it. I believe them. And then I saw the schedule get laid out, and I go, I don't think you have many excuses this time around. So I'm hoping 9-8, 10-7, maybe even better if they win a couple of games that you don't expect them to. And then suddenly they're challenging for the NFC East, and they either win it or they get in as a wild card. And I think that's a win either way. But I'm with you. I'd love to see a home game this January.
Down, set, hut, watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.